All right, guys. So yesterday we talked we learned about user authentication and writing commands in Django using the manage and Python manage.py command. So we'll do a quick revision and then afterwards, we'll do a quick revision. Then I'll quickly show you how to create permissions on Django, like custom permissions on your own. And then we'll now go on to the main topic for today, that's handling Ajax request in Django. Okay, so just give me a second. So I remember yesterday I was when Mendy asked a question regarding apps, I was saying that apps are just basically folders. So like the right word for that is, I would not just say, it should not just be like, they're not like just folders, they're like packages. So each of those files inside of your application are modules. So basically modules are like, a module is just a file that contains Python statements and definitions. So it can contain functions, classes, and just statements, normal Python statements. So each of those modules, if you want Python to, each of those modules, like if you want Python to allow you to access those modules because most of those modules are already like related. So if you want Python to use a dot notation to reference each of the modules inside of your folder, then you'd have to like create you have to create, you have to like how do I put it? You have to like name them. So like when you name them, you're like saying, okay, I want all of these packages to be treated. I want all of these modules to be treated as a package. So modules and packages are simply just collections of modules. That's like the simple definition. So like in the blog app, for example, it's a package on its own. So if you say blog, if you want to access the files inside of blog, like the modules inside of blog with like blog.view or blog.models or blog.so and so, you have to put it like package them together like that, like put them together inside of a folder like that. And then you need to also put in that. So you notice that in each of the packages there, so in each of the package, you see an init.py file. So that init.py just say, no, I want you to treat all of these modules as a package, like a collection of these modules as package. I just hope I am able to pass, like I'm making some sense here. Okay, so so let's just quickly revise user authentication, because I just want to make sure that everybody's clear here. So we learned that we can have there are two different ways of extending Django's authentication, Django's user model without substituting the user model or without creating a custom user model. Can anybody tell me can somebody tell me two ways? If you know one, you can just tell me. If you know one, you can let me know.
What one?
So if you want to extend Django's user model, there are two ways of doing that. Do you know the two ways? Well, without customizing or substituting the user model.
Okay, so
without
we can
creating your
create without creating our own custom user model.
Yeah, you can create your custom user, but if you don't want to create a custom user, you can still extend the user model in two different ways. What are the two ways? Two different ways. No. What's base command? Base command is when you want to write your own custom commands. Like you want a command like a command after python manage.py to be executed. So python manage.py do something to be executed. Then you can go and create your own custom commands. He's laughing, sir. So that's not it. I'm talking about user model now. If you do not want to create a custom user model, there are two ways you can still extend Django's user model. What are those two ways? Hey, nobody knows. How come you guys don't remember? Hey, God, I'll bring my computer out now. Okay, so just for the sake of like you guys, for the sake of let me just retrace it. So the first way you can do is to use a proxy to create a proxy model. So that proxy model is going to inherit from the base user model and then extend it. Maybe it's not going to change the functionality or anything. It's just going to extend its functionality by maybe creating extra methods or updating its model manager or something like that. So that's the first way, proxy. So what's the second one? Who knows the second one?
Is it that by linking with the like a one-to-one way to link with the user model? Okay.
Yes, that's very correct. So you can do a one-to-one, you can create a profile model. So usually in Django, we call it a profile model. So that profile model is now going to store profile related data of that user. It's going to create store profile, any data related to profile for that user. So it's just going to have a one-to-one relationship with the user model. Okay, so what are the two ways? So what are the two ways we can customize Django's user model? Someone already said abstract based user. What's the second one?
Abstract user.
Abstract user. Okay, so for abstract user, you just say, oh, I'm still okay with Django's I'm okay with the functionality of Django's user model, but I still want to add some extra properties, extra methods, if you may. Then that works. But for abstract based user, you have the freedom to like create your own user model from scratch, but then it still comes with all of the functionality that Django affords you, like in their Django authentication system. Okay, so yeah, we have that. Okay, so why do we use groups in what is the use of groups in Django's authentication system? What are the uses, or what is the use? Why do we use groups in Django authentication system?
Is it to group users according to their permissions? Like we have some users that are staff, some will be something like that.
Okay, so let's clear that. So we tried, but there's something you are missing. So in the Django's base user model, like we don't have, I said it before that we don't have separate models for staff or for people with higher privileges. We just have one user model. But then attributes like a staff, a super user can help to attributes like a staff, a super user can help to differentiate a user from one particular role or the other. So the Django group is just for you to say, okay, I want to group users. I want to group users based on a particular, maybe I want to just group them and label them. So this group is going to be so and so role, another group is going to be another role. And then it makes it easy for you to just apply permissions to users. So instead of like adding permissions one by one, so you're creating a user now, and maybe that user is a content editor or something like that, or content creator, I don't know, maybe content manager, and then you want that user to have certain privileges or certain permissions. Instead of just adding every time, let's say every time you create and you say, okay, this person is a content manager, you create, and then you start creating permissions one after the other, or you add permissions one after the other, you can just create a group and then apply permissions to those groups. So whenever you add a user to that group, automatically that permission is going to be applied to that user, or that user will have those permissions you apply to that group. So that's that. Okay. So so that, I think that one's clear now. So what else again? And then did any of you like try to did you guys try to do something by yourself using Django's like creating your own customized your own custom commands? Did anybody try to do that? No. Okay. Peter, did you try?
I'm currently not where my system is now. I'm out of state. So I won't be back till tomorrow evening. So I'm
Oh,
just joining the
oh,
class.
okay, okay, okay. All right, nice.
My system at the moment.
Okay, cool. Okay, so what is the difference between using create user and just so user the objects or create user and just user the objects or create? What is the difference between both of them?
I think one user dot object dot create user, the password will be in will be in hash.
Mm-hmm.
While the other save the plain password, the password that
Yes,
someone can read the password.
yes, that's correct. So one saves the hashed password and the other one saves the raw password. And so which do you think is better to use from what you have so far considered?
I think it's the one that saves the password in hash. So
Yes,
wants to protect users' data.
yes. So the thing is, what is very cool about this password hashing is that you can easily hash the password, but it is almost impossible to like reverse the password back to its raw form. So I think it's impossible, sir. So let's just say almost impossible. So that's like very, very secure. So you guys should always use create user. And when you were saying something like one saves immediately, the other doesn't. Anything objects or create saves immediately to the database. But the main difference between create user and create is what we just talked about. So say you want to check a user's password to be sure that is the password is correct, like the password that the person is passing is correct. What method would you use? What user method would you use? Okay, check password, that's correct. So you use check password what would you pass into the check password field method, I mean? So you pass in the raw password, definitely. And when you pass it into it, when you pass the password into it, check password take care of password hashing and then make the comparison, and then it will return a boolean true or false if the user if the password is correct or not. Okay, so yeah. So like there are two ways for you to know if a user is authenticated, or if the user is authenticated, or if the user is an anonymous user. So anonymous user is just user that. So an anonymous user always has is authenticate or is authenticated to be false. So what was I ask? What did I want to ask? So what are the two attributes to say if a user is anonymous or authenticated? There are two different attributes we have. Do you guys know? Or should I just tell you? Yeah, it's authenticated. And which one again? We also have is anonymous. So is anonymous is going to tell you if the user is an anonymous user or not. Same as authenticated, whether the user is authenticated or not. But which one does Django advise you to use? The first one, that is authenticated. Okay. So now we can now like move on to our class for today. So before, let me just like share my screen and make sure that everything is working here. Give me a second, please. Let me share my screen. Okay. So I told you guys to add something to your, what do you call it, to your index.html. That's a select this one. Just add the select. Just add options. So currently we have, let me see what I have here. You guys cannot see my browser. I'm going to share very soon. Just give me a second. Okay, so let me share. Let me share my browser. Okay. I don't know if this is the browser you are seeing or you are seeing the wrong one. Let me share this one. Okay. Okay. So like in our blog post, we only have like one post, and I want to like add some more so that we can have like much more, can have more let's see. Okay, so let me just add some more some more posts. Sorry. So I'm just copy and paste. Okay, so first thing we're going to do in this case is this is what our blog looks like right now. So like we don't have what do you call it? Okay, we have like 3 of them now. So what we want to do is we want to have a select button here so that we can filter through. We can filter by category. So we're going to have like, let's say we want to have like like 3 different categories. So but like in a normal case, you might want to fetch the categories you have. Is it possible for you? Yeah, you might want to fetch. Would you be able to fetch the categories you have? Depends on how you save it. Depends on how you store your categories on your database. But then let's say you don't, I mean, let's say you already know how many categories you have. We're just going to add it here. We're going to add the categories here. And then we want to be able to filter by a particular category. And then we do not want our we do not want our page to reload. We just want the request to like be sent, and then we'll handle the rest inside of it ourselves, like asynchronously. So first I'm going to add the options we have here. Okay, so let's just say we have let's have Django, because we have one of them. We have dev. Sorry. And we'll have let's say we just have inspiration because I added one. I added inspiration in the first post. Okay. So that's what that's looking like. Okay. So maybe I should add one blank option so that just have one blank option. So whenever we like select any other option, it's our code can pick the new option instead of having one default value there. All right, so okay, so now we have our select button. So let's just give our select a, let's give it a name, sorry, an ID, and just call it category. Okay, it's outside of the, yeah. So okay, this works. So I've already added an index.js file inside of my static files, and then inside of here I have loaded it. Inside of here I added it to the script. So you can put your scripts inside of here so that you'll be able to take advantage of the templating engine, and then you can use template tags and all of that. But I just want to put my own here separately, and I don't think I'll be using that. So what's the next thing for us to do now? So now let's create a function. Okay, all caps. Let's create a function that will run when this script is called. Let's call it an init function. So first we're going to get the select option. This select element. Get it first. It's my existing jump in. Let's just call it select. And then just get full category like this. Then we'll just add an event listener that when it changes, we'll just call a function. So let's say the function is going to be filter by category.
We can't see what you're typing.
I'm sorry. Oh, sorry, guys. Can you see now? Okay, yes. So instead of this index.html, I created this select element. I gave it an ID of category. These are the options inside. So instead of the index, this is my index.js inside my static folder. I put it inside a folder called JS. So I created this init function that is going to run when this index.js is loaded. So, and then I selected the select element using this query selector here. Then here I'm adding an event listener to listen for changes in the selects. So when the value of the select changes, or when the select element changes, I want you to call this function here, this filter by category, which I'm going to create now. Okay. So I want you to filter by category, and let's see if. So I do not want my browser to reload when this particular when this particular thing changes. So let me first see. I don't know if the default is for it to reload, but for now, let's just do a console or log that the select has changed. Okay. Okay, so it's responsive. So I thought it was going to have a default of like, reloading, but it doesn't. So there's no need for that. You guys cannot see my browser. Sorry. So there's no need for us to like take in this, but then I'm sure the value of the select. So let's see what the value of the select is. I'm sure like select dot value. Let's see if that works. Where's my browser? Okay, so let's see if it prints. Oh, I have to reload. So it prints out the category. So basically, what we want to do is we get this category and then we put it inside of. We send it to the backend. So we like when we send this category to the backend, we want it to filter through using this category. So category called dev or category called inspiration or whatever. So that's what this our JS is basically doing. So first, so back. Okay, this could come. Where is my close? Okay. So now that we can, what do you call it? Now that we can get the value of our select, the next thing we need to do is we need to create the view that is going to handle this request on the backend. So we'll know which URL to pass it to. So inside of the URLs, I'm going to add, let me just see. You can decide to design it your own way. Maybe you want it to be inside of this, maybe your home page, so that whenever it changes, you can send the request. But I just want to, for the sake of demonstration, I'm going to create a separate view. So let's just call it, let's just say filter by, let me just say filter or category / like this. Let's just call it category. And then we'll have a view, create a view. Let's call it filter by category. Okay, so let's go to our views and create it. Oh, I did not import it. Import it here. Excuse me. Then inside our views, I'll create it. Take some requests and yeah. So what we want to do now, we're going to use the query dict object to get whatever is being sent. So how we want to send it is how we want to send the, what do you call it? How we want to send the value is we want to use a parameter, something like let's just say HTTP localhost /blog. So pardon that I'm using this, but I just want to use it for the sake of this tutorial. So let's just say /category, because we've already added the category part here. /blog /category, and then we'll pass in a parameter like category is equal to whatever category you pass. So it can be dev or something else. So this is how we want our URL to look like. And this is how we're going to, this is the kind of URL, this is the form of the URL we're going to be using on the front end. or inside of our index.js. So what we want to do now is let's just print out what is inside of our request.get, since this is a get request. Okay. Return. I'm going to screenshot, but what is this? Invalid syntax inside of here. No comma. Okay. So let's see what this looks like. I just want to know, I want to see what is going to be coming out of the request.get. So let's go inside of index. Since we already have our URL now, let's just call our URL what we called it. So just say HTTP, copy and paste. Okay, /blog/category/ we'll put our question mark. We'll say category is equal to, we want our category to equal, I don't need to carry this here again, sir. So I want our category to equal this select, the value of the select. So we'll just say this select of value. Okay, like this. So let's print out the URL here. So we'll be sure that what we are passing is correct. It's not going to send the request yet. Or maybe I should just send the request now. Let me just send the request. Say, let me get, just say get posts. Send, I'm passing this. Is there any need for me to pass in this URL? Well, let me just do const data is equal to make this an async function. So you can wait my data. I want it to fetch this URL. So I want it to show me what is inside of this data when it fetches the data. But then it's not going to get any data because we are not returning any data yet. So let's make the request. Server error, can you? Okay, back to where we are. So now you are seeing the request. You are seeing what is inside of this query dict here. You are seeing that it has a category, has a category key with the value as dev. So whenever you make any change, like you see that it reflects here. Now it's the category now is inspiration because I just changed what is inside of the select. Like I changed the value of the select from the front end. So now we can send requests and hopefully we'll soon start getting back something. Okay, so let's go back inside of our views.py. So you guys now, if I want to get now you can see that the query dict is, you can see this object here now. Our category is inside there. If I want to get what is inside of here, this category, what am I going to do? If I want to get this category inside of this query dict, what would I do?
One data challenge.
Does anyone know? Does anyone know? Nobody's responding. Okay, but then we've used this before. We've used this many times. So we're just going to, it's like a dictionary object. So you can just do request.get whatever parameter you want. So category in our case. So let me send the request again. Okay, so you can see that we have gotten the value here. Can you see the value here? filtered our post using that category. So we'll just say post is equal to post dot object dot filter category is equal to category. Okay, so let's print out our posts and see what it brings out. I'm going to send another request right now from the front end. Okay, it says category is not defined. Post the object of filter. Oh, sorry. We need to get category from the request object. So it's a request dot get category. Okay, let's do it again. Oh, it shows an empty query set. I guess there's no dev category. Let me use another one. Let me use Django. Okay, so this is a query set here. Sorry that this is messy, but this is like what is returned when you search for Django. And I know we have just two posts in the Django category. So this is our query set here. So now we want to return this query set back to our user. So what do we do? You guys, what do you think we should do if we want to return this back to our user? You guys, no. How do we normally return data back to the user? Can create a context, okay. So let's say we create a context. We'll just say post and put it in the render function. Okay, that's one good one. So let's try it now. I have context what to post. So just say post. Let me just steal this one. This is here. Since it's index.html, and then we'll pass in our context. Okay. Just say context for context for the sake of clarity. This. Okay. Okay. Let's see what happens. I should include the template. Yeah, I included the template. So let me show you guys what we are seeing inside of our share. I don't know if you are seeing the right thing, but this is like, let me just do Django here. So like this is basically what we are seeing. This is our response. This is just prototype now. So like this is our response. This is the kind of response we want. No. Okay. So one thing we can do is, let me share my screen again. So one thing we can do is we can use a child, we can use a class that that inherits from the HTTP response class. That class is called the JSON response. So since we want to send back JSON response to our users, in this our case now, we want to send back JSON response, we can use that JSON response class. It's a child class of the HTTP response. So let's import that. Let me assume it's in Django.http. Okay, so I've imported it here. Django.http import JSON response. This one. So let's use that JSON response. So we don't want to pass in this context like this. We want to send the JSON response. So what this JSON response does is automatically the content type is application/JSON, which is like a JSON object. So we're just going to say JSON response, and we are going to pass in the post just like that. Like this. You can still pass in another content type if you want to, but since it's the default we are using, we just leave it like this. So let's see what I'm going to reshare my browser so we can see the kind of objects we are getting. So let's do Django. Server error. Now let you guys should come and see what the error is saying. Okay, so it says in order to allow non-dict objects to be serialized, set the safe parameter to be false. So this JSON response. So there's this particular version of ECMAScript, that's JavaScript. I think the version 5 that it had this little issue that how do you put it, that arrays can be like if you let me not say it like that. So like arrays can be poisoned, like the data that is passed to the array can be poisoned, basically. So Django now says, okay, just to like, for the sake of caution, like just to take caution, or for the sake of taking precautions, we are just only going to allow dictionary objects. So you cannot pass in a non-dictionary object into JSON response. But then since like many applications using that particular, I know it's been a long time, but many applications using that version already have a way of protecting the user's data. So there might be no need for you to do that. And besides, many people don't use, I don't know if people use ECMAScript 5 anymore. So we can just say safe equal false like this. So let's see what happens. So I'm going to just send another request again. Or let me just send a Django request. Another server error. It says object of type query set is not JSON serializable. So basically, if you have any data that is JSON serializable, that can be serialized, then how do I put it? If you have like a list or any form of data that can be serialized, then you can pass it using this JSON response. But if not, you will need to serialize the object first before you send it over to your what they call it, to your front end. Okay, so basically serialization is just for you to transform Django models into other formats that you want to consume, say XML, JSON. In our case now, we use JSON. So first, let us import the JSON serializer. Sorry, the serializer. Let me see where that serializer function again. So from Django.core, you import serializers like this. And then you use the serialize method. So you just say, just call it serialized posts. Is equal to serializers dot serialize posts. So we want it to, the first thing you pass is the format. We're going to use JSON, and then we're going to pass post. So let's remove the safe equal false, since now we are going to be passing JSON objects. Okay, I'll share my browser again. So we have another again. So maybe we should pass this in as, let me pass this as an object. Let me just use the word data. Okay, let me just use post this object like this. You see, have an error. Let me come back to this place. Okay. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. JSON. Okay, let me just add this. String object has no attributes, meta. Let me serialize. No, sorry. I should be sending this like this. Sorry. And then I'll pass a dictionary to JSON like this. Sorry, serialize post this time around because we've serialized. Let's see if there's going to be another server error. Okay, so we don't have server errors again. Okay, let me share here now. So this is the kind of data we are getting. Okay, so that what we needed to do was we needed to convert the data we are getting to a JSON format inside of our index, which we have not done yet. So I think we should just go back and do it. Inside of index.js. What we are going to do now is we are going to now, let's just say, let's say, what will I call this one now? Just call it response. Then we'll await should be correct. So let's console the log response and see what happens. Okay, so now we can see our posts. So, but then I don't think we can consume our post now because in this method it's like a string. We need to like pass it. We need to like pass this data we are getting. So let's go and pass it inside of our index.js. Where's our index.js again? So let's just say console.log json.parse response. So we can get JSON format data. Back to blog. And fetch error. Why? Just no parse anonymous. Okay, I'm doing something wrong. It's just not pass on this thing anymore. me think through this. Okay, so what is happening is from this let's go back and look at this thing again. Is the way we sent our data. So I'll console response again so you guys can see what is inside of response. Let me do it again and just console response. So response has this post this thing. So we need to get this post object. Sorry, this post object inside of here and then pass whatever is inside this post, this value, the value of post. So I think we'll just have to guess what is inside of, where is it again? We get what is inside of post like this, just, and then we'll do JSON the pass here. There's no JavaScript class, so guys. Okay, so yeah, now we can see our data. So you can see that it has this like this is basically just a list with a field this thing. It has a fields attribute that contains like all of our data, so that we can now take this data and then do whatever we please with this data. So let me see. Let's go back to our. So at least now we are getting our data. So we can just do like. Do I want to do this? Okay, that's like the structuring of this thing of objects in JavaScript. So maybe we want to map it. We want to map it. So let's just say let's map the data. Map like this. So what I want to return is basically I'm just going to return like a div. Let me see. So let's just return what is inside, something like what we have here. So like a div. I don't have like this, something like this. Index. Okay. Where is this one coming from? Where's that? Something like this. So what we want, like instead of so we might want to get some data from inside of our post. So let's say inside of our post, we're going to get fields. We're going to be getting the fields attributes, and then from the fields, we're going to be getting author, category, content, created date. So let me just copy all of these like this inside of here. Okay. Category, content, created dates. Publish it like this. So there's also title. I've not added title. So I'm basically just like taking out the fields. I'm taking out the fields attributes from each. So this puzzle map literally just iterates over each of the objects, and I'm taking out these fields attributes. But I don't want to start doing fields or this, fields or that, or fields or author, field or category. So I'm just destructuring all of these out of there. And then inside of here, I'm going to just put it. What was the title? Then we'll have author like this. We'll have content. So So yeah, okay, we need the ID for so if you're like what I was saying, if you're inside of if you're writing this your script inside of your index HTML, you can make use of these template tags. But here I think I'm just going to use that URL. Maybe I'll just create a base URL like this. Sorry, let me just go back. So I'll take this base URL, just call it base URL. You can decide to call it what, do however you like. I'm just doing I don't know what to call this kind of coding, but this is just for you guys to practice basically. So you can structure it however you want to. And I'm just going to say $. I'm going to just say ID. Did I collect the ID? Let me look at it again. Okay, so inside of this, inside of the each of the objects, we have fields attributes, we have model, and we have PK. The model is blocked or post as it should be. Then the PK is the ID. So I'm going to first get PK here, and I'm just going to pass PK here. That's the ID. So what this should be, it should actually be a string. So I'm going to have base URL inside of here, base URL, then it's going to be /pk like this. Okay, so but we don't have any other thing for, let me just add extra category. This one should be okay. I don't think I need the content. Let me just put created date here. And published it like this. I don't think I need the content inside here. Yeah. Okay. So this should work. Okay, so what we will now do is, you know that now we've gotten data. I don't know if someone's asking a question. Okay, so you know that now in this place, we just collected data and then we want to map, let me see. Okay, so for each of the data, we want to create this. But then we need to change whatever data is inside of this index or HTML. So one way we can do it is we can just collect, since our data is going to be inside of this cart container, we can just say, okay, let's take out this cart container and then would change whatever is inside of there from our index.js. So let's have this cart container here. Let's say cart container. So this one is just going to take the first element from the list of this class. Since we have just one, we can be sure to bring back our cart container. Which one am I sharing? This one. Okay. Please, you guys should just give me a minute or so. I'll be back. All right, guys. Where are we? Okay, so what we want to do now is we've collected this card container. So what do we do now? So we want to change. Let me see. So what we can do is, since we want to put what is inside this card container, like we want to change the value, we can just have something to store each of these, like each of this data. What I'm saying is every time we create this div here, we want to store it somewhere. So we can just say post cards or post lists. Let me just say post cards is equal to an empty string. And then every time we create this, let me see. So every time we create this, we want to append it to this. We want to append it to this, what do you call it? Where's my code again? I want to append it to this postcard here. So instead of just returning this directly, we can have this. So we can have extra code. Okay. So we can have inside of this place now, what we just do is let's call this, just say let's card, let's say postcard. Just say let's postcard equal this. It's looking somehow. Okay. So let's just say let postcard equal this. We're just going to make this one look better. So then we'll now add this to these postcards here. So let's just say postcards like this. So every time we loop through this, the list of the posts, it's going to create this string here, which represent our card, and then it will append it to the postcards. Okay, so now that we have all of that inside of these postcards, we're now going to come outside of here, and then we'll say, let me see, what do we call our card container? I'll just say card container dot inner HTML is equal to postcards like this. Hey, what happened now? Something expected. Expected. What? Oh, let's do let postcards here. So what is going on? Sorry, let's come out of here. We're still inside of the map function. So let's do it like this. And then let's see if it will work. It should work, sure. But if it doesn't work, we'll come back and fix it. Where is... Sorry, looking for my blog. Okay. Am I even sharing? Let's share again. Okay. All right. So here we are. Let's try again. Uncut promise. Post or map is not a function. Okay. Why is that? This. Okay, let's look at it again. Oh, so what we needed to do was we did not assign our post to this JSON.parse post. We still have like the normal string. Let's try again. Okay, assignment to constant variable, something, something, something. Okay, let's look at it again. I think I did a const, this. So let's post, because, let me see. Okay, so I did const post, and then I'm trying to update or like change what is inside of post. So JavaScript is going to complain. Let's try again. Okay, yeah, this is making sense now. So now it now like updates whatever is inside of the cart container. So this is basically how this works. And then like if you change to like dev, you don't see any post, but if you go to inspiration, you see one post. So like this is just basically how to do that. Do you guys have questions? Okay, so no question. Okay, so this is like one way for you to but then like you can, I mean, if you have the time, you just take your time and I write your JavaScript together, so you don't have code looking somehow. Okay. So that's one way. So another thing we can do is so like this one now. This one now is a way for you to you're sending JSON now. But then you can also send the template, like what's the name? Mendy said. So you can send the template, you can send the context data together with it. The only is there any problem with that? Yeah, there's no problem with that. So that one is that one is another way we can do this. So let's go inside of our views again. So let me see. Okay, so let's say, so now inside of our, we want to use something like this index.html template. So what we can do is we can just copy this. Let me just call it this div container. How should I do it? Okay, let me copy this part. Where does the div end? Ends here. Okay, so let me just copy this cart container. This is the template we want to send back to this cart container here. Is the template we want to send back. So we cannot just like send back the entire template. Or we can send back the entire template, in fact. The only thing is we'll just have to target like the body. We'll have to target the body elements, and maybe give it an ID or something, or just target it like that, and then change what is inside of it. Or we can just save a smaller template like this one. Or we can just save this one. I'm thinking of the best way for us to do it. Okay, let's save just this small template here. We do not want to change everything inside of the template. We just want a small template. If you like, you can change chat, but let me just have this small one. Just call it card.html. I'm just going to have this. Okay. So inside of our views.py, when we get a request to filter by particular category, we will send a template. We'll send that card template, that card.html template, and then we'll send the context data with it. So first things first, let's just call our templates whatever it is. So template is equal to blog/templates. Sorry, blog/card.html like this. And then our context will now be this our post. You don't, if you are going to be sending just JSON response, you will have to serialize. But if you are sending templates, you don't have to worry about that. Since you're going to send the templates and you're going to send the data, the context data, since Django uses Ginger on the front on the Ginger templating engine, Ginger is going to help you to sort your data out, like however you put it in your, let's say in your card.html or whatever. So Ginger can help you do that, but you don't need to like serialize this anymore. So you can just close this one and then we'll just say context is equal to, we called our post. So we'll just stick with that name. And then let me even see what is inside the card for post and post. Okay. So yeah, so we'll just call it post and then we'll pass post. Like this. So are we still going to be using JSON response if we want to send a template? Somebody's typing. Okay. Okay. So, but I want to just say that this works a bit differently in class views. If you're using class-based views, maybe later on I'll drop a hint or something, or like I'll drop something for you guys. Sure. But then, okay, yeah, I go. I'll just drop something for, hey, what's that? And yesterday's link. Yeah, I didn't drop that, so let me just drop it. Okay, so but like we can still use JSON response. The only thing is we don't need to like serialize the data inside of it. And you don't need to serialize the post data. You can just pass the JSON, data and put it inside. No worry, I'll show you guys now. Okay. Give me a second, please. Or maybe I'll just look at, I think I dropped it somewhere, but like I can't remember where. But then you find it in the Django's documentation. I'll still drop it anyway. But let's just go back to what we're doing. Okay, so cool. Okay, so let's just do this. We just say template is equal to this. Let me bring the template down here, like to make some sense out of it. Okay. So then let's just send in our template. Let's send in our template. Templates. Okay, so honestly, this does not take in template like this. I wanted to like make it fill, but then it's not going to fill because I'm not going to be passing in the required it's not going to be passing the required parameters or arguments. So what we are just going to do, we're going to do the right thing right away. So what we'll just do is we'll just say template is equal to, I'm going to close this up, this one too. So there's something that will help us to like send templates. It's something called the render to string. So you get it from Django.template loader. Remember when we started with just when we just started with function views, we used how did we do it again? We use this template, we use a function from this template loader to send data to the front end. So like we're going to use the render to string so that it can serve our distance. We'll say render to string and then we'll pass in the template. Just copy it here like this. And then we'll pass in the context as well. Like this. So this is the way we'll be able to send, just like this. So you have to first convert your template in a way that it will be able to send to the front end. So if you are sending, let me see, if you are sending just JSON response, you have to be sending a what? You have to be sending a dictionary. Let me just templates like this. So let's see what our front end is going to get this time around. So let's open this index.js again and let me see this. Let's see what, now we are no more passing in posts. We are now passing in a template, not a post. So now we're going to just console log this. So log this. And then let's just close it up. So now we don't have JSON object to be looking through. Let's just console or log whatever is coming out from there. Let's see if we're on the right track. Where is our? A second, let me just go back to this one block. Okay. So let's see. Let's do Django. JSON will pass something. Let's go back and see what our. Okay. This one says 200. But then the error now is from our JS. Okay, in fact, let me just see what is inside this template. So, it might just be a string that will just paste inside like that. Going back to the browser, guys. Let's see what is inside of our template. It might just be a string of, so it just sends the entire thing. Like it sends the, it sends the entire, what do you call it? It sends the entire, the cards we asked for. And then it has already like puts all of the context data inside of where it should be. So we're just going to use this. We don't need to pass anything since it's just templates and it's a string. We're just going to put it inside of our cards container. So I'm going back. And I'll just clear all of these ones. Minus this. Okay. So this is collecting our template already. We'll just say card container.init.html is equal to templates. So let's go back and test again. So this works better now. So you don't need to pass anything since it's like a string that is being sent to you. You just so this works. Inspiration is 1. Okay. Yeah. So that's that. So this is how far we've done. Do you guys have any questions? And we'll be searching for my link.
Yes, so
Okay.
so literally you're telling us we're gonna learn JavaScript here. And by the way, I know a different kind of fetch. Yeah, that's the fetch dot catch. Can we also use that here?
Yes, you can. I'm just using this async function because like it's very neat. I don't have to be doing dot then. I just have to await and my data will
Oh,
just come to me when it
okay.
has fetched.
So you're saying this one seems more neater and more preferred to fetch dot then, yeah?
Yeah, too many then.
Okay, and you talked about a better method or another method. What possibly is the other method?
Which better method?
Um, of calling the API from the backend like you did before now. Like you said something like there's a better method of using the await fetch here, or another method rather. Sorry, your word was another method here.
Of using I don't mean like another method. I just mean that so like you might not necessarily have, I just meant like the way you arrange your code. So you might want to separate content, maybe have one function to do one thing. And so, but then I'm just talking about the method basically, like how you choose to implement whatever thing you're implementing or your function. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, but like this is neat. Like I think await is neat compared to that fetch.them. So this is like for if you need to do some small add some small functionalities to your on your front end. So you don't just assume that okay, we'll just use generic views and it will just send us our templates and that's all. You should know that there are ways for you to interact with your front end, like interact with your interact and create interactions on your front end. That's what I'm trying to say. So that's but then you guys should like try out using like adding a script inside of your index, like inside of this index, and see how like add a script just like this. What is this one? We can just add a script directly here. I saw some of you using some template tags from some Ginger template tags where you add a block of code somewhere, like inside of, you can have like a block of code inside of your HTML file. I saw some of you did that. So you can still put your script outside of, like you can put your script inside of a file like this index.js file, and then so that you'll be able to take advantage of these URL template tags and other template tags that are available. Then you can like do what am I saying? You add the block, that block template tag here, so that it will like fetch your script from here and put it inside of here. So that way you'll be able to take advantage of your URL thing. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, but then it depends on how you like to do your things. Anyway, like any way that makes life easy for you, just do it. Is there any other thing I wanted to tell you guys? I wanted us to look at the HTTP request response thing, request response object, but I don't think there's going to be time for that again. But yeah, like it's like many things, like you can do so many things to Django because So now we've not gotten to the point where we can fetch data, like fetch data from, we can fetch templates, we can fetch JSON response from server. So now we're going to, because primarily because of how Django REST frameworks realizes objects, like their objects, this Python objects. We are going to be looking at just Django REST framework, so that
Carrie, come again. What did you say, please?
what is happening. So because of how TRF does serialization, we can. But then, if you guys should understand that this is like still the same thing as like using an endpoint. So let me just show you guys. It's still like the same. It's not like you can still do whatever you want to do like this using JSON response, but for the sake of serialization, let me just close this one.
I like how you cleared your throat.
I'm coming. Let me find. I can't even find what I want to show you guys. Okay. So let me just. I'm trying to open this thing. Postman. Oh, it's just looking at me here. So let's look at that category thing and let's just. Test it here. So like, okay, this one is the templates. This one is the templates. So like, basically what I'm saying is you can still use JSON response. In fact, that is what DRF does under the hood. You get. So it should not be as if, but for the sake of serialization, like you still get, you can use this on any front end, especially if you are sending JSON responses, because like for REST APIs, like that's the standard. So you can use this, but so just so that, I mean, you might not want to have to go through cleaning your data so that it looks very, because if you saw the data that was sent, you see plenty backslash forward slashes and all of that. So you might not want to go through all of that stress of cleaning your data or transforming it into a proper JSON object as well. So because of that, we will look at TRF. Okay.
Thanksgiving on Sunday. Thanksgiving on Sunday.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, so like this is like how far we're going to go. And okay.
One more thing, yeah.
Yes.
You're going to drop a detailed tax for stage 6 here.
Yes, I will.
Okay.
It's the one everyone is going to be working on together. That's the account management. So I still need to like add some specification so that you guys will know how you are structuring, or I just want you guys to follow certain requirements.
Okay, so in that case, yeah, are we going to open like a separate repo, or someone will just use it as a repo, then we'll do all thing there, or is that all going to be stated in the tax instructions? Hello, Karen. Yeah, she's not there.
Use Git very well already, so I mean now.
I did not hear you. I didn't hear anything.
Well, I'm saying that there's going to be a repository, one single repository, and everybody in the team is going to be contributing to that repository. You guys should share the task among yourselves. I want to see what everybody has done, like each person has done. And everybody's going to use his own mouth to say what he has done now. The project here. So
we are going to defend it.
Don't know yet. Maybe.
Think you know maybe.
should start work on it first. So, but then everybody's going to say what they've done on the this thing, and I'm going to like set a time that is convenient for everyone.
All right,
That's
no
that.
problem. Thanks. Yeah.
Okay, we're done.
Yeah. Bye. Have a nice weekend.